Good evening, my fellow Celtics devotees. It's CB on the Seas. Uh, Tonight was game 17 of 82, another loss, this time to the Hornets on the road, 117, 112. My pull up three pointer, first point, Hernan Gomez. I didn't realize there was another Hernan Gomez in the league. It was sort of like when they came up against Bogdanovich, and I realized that there were two Bogdanoviches. It's pretty crazy. On a more serious note, second point of my pull-up three-pointer, the coaching move of the night. Everybody's making a big deal about Stevens shaking up the starting lineup. I didn't think that. I mean, he brought in Baines obviously to run a two-man game, a little pick and roll, get a little action going to the rim, as opposed to just chucking up the threes to start the game like they've been doing. It worked to a little degree, but the most important thing is the players you have in the court at the end of the game. And for the second time in a row, it was evident that even though Brown was starting, Stevens' omission of Brown in crunch time was very significant and apparent. And I'd like to see more of that. In fact, it's interesting. Hayward, who ended up starting on the bench, coming off the bench, ended up with 31 minutes played tonight and played during crunch time and played pretty good. And Brown, who ended up starting, who a lot of people were calling for removal from the starting lineup, only played 19 minutes. By the way, the same number of minutes that T. Rose played. I thought that was interesting. Third point of the pull-up three-pointer is the statistic of the night, which was Kyrie Irving's shooting percentage from the arc, which was 1 for 8. Now, in the last 10 games, he was shooting over 50% from three-point range, 33 for 65. And, he makes 3 of those, then, they're back in the game or they win it. 3 of those 7 misses. So that was significant, but you can't count on somebody shooting 50% from the line or 50% from the three-point line every night. And there's got to be somebody else willing to back up Kyrie. You could tell he was sort of gassed at the end, and he was pretty tired of doing it all himself. He wants to be the guy, but he's not going to be there every night, so we need guys to step up and back them up like other great teams do of all sports. Tough loss. Let's just take a moment. Yeah, one game over 500. That's who they are. Your record is who you are, like Parcells always says. Okay, so the top 3 stars of tonight's game, I'd say the third star was T. Rose. He played 19 minutes, but he had a nice line. He had 3 for 6 from the field, 2 for 4 from the arc, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals in 19 minutes. So that's pretty efficient. I want to see him getting Brown's minutes. That's what I want to see. He's definitely up for it. It's contract year. He's got his eye on his next big deal, but he wants to put up some good numbers and just make the offers as sweet as possible that come in after the season. Second star was Kyrie. He had a great night. You could tell he knew he wasn't doing well from the arc, and so he ended up going to the hole a lot more than usual, being aggressive, going hard to the hole, getting to the line, making things happen, and that's how that works. You got to be aggressive. And number 1 star, I'd definitely go with Walker. I mean, you score 103 points in 2 nights, averaging 51.5 points over the last 2 games. It's pretty impressive. There's nothing else you could say about it. I was a little disappointed with the way the Seas defended him. They had a 4-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and he took over. And they put Smart on him, but Smart, he did an okay job. But, when they would switch on the pick and roll, Al really sort of didn't step out on a lot of those bombs, especially the 3 pointers he hit down the stretch. So that was disappointing. Bottom three stains on the game. I'd start with the third being Tatum. He had a decent game. He had some nice moves, but there's one play that sort of is emblematic of his general lack of consistency with effort. They had him post up Walker in a mismatch, and instead of backing him down under the rim and getting fouled or getting an and one, or at the very least a layup, sort of just settled for a little fadeaway jump shot over him, and he's 6'8", and so he's taller than Walker, and it's a pretty good shot. But when you got that kind of physical advantage over another player, you got to back him down all the way. So Tatum's refusal to assert himself and use his advantages and his mismatch advantages over lesser players or smaller players or less physically gifted players continues to irk me. Second stain was Al. He had another shaky game. He's had a shaky season so far compared to how solid he was last year. But mostly what annoyed me was his lack of aggression on Walker during those switches down the stretch in the last 5-6 minutes of the game. Contributed to Walker going off. And the number one stain, or the bottom one stain on the game, is definitely Brown. He's in a hole. And I really wouldn't mind seeing him just stay on the bench. We need to establish roles on the team, and he's not, with his minutes, he's not seizing a role. And I'm not really sure what he's providing. He's not really contributing much of anything. And if you're not contributing, if you're not part of the solution, you're definitely part of the problem. And we need wins. We got one game over 500, and it's not good enough. So that's it. All right, my closeout is a Thanksgiving recipe. It's Thanksgiving week. Instead of giving out this recipe on Wednesday, where it can't be useful because all the stores will be closed by then, I'll give it out to you tonight. It's a recipe for Brussels sprouts. Everybody's got the recipes for all the other stuff, the basics, but this is an easy recipe to have a little green in your Thanksgiving dinner. So the Brussels sprouts is very easy. You take a bunch of Brussels sprouts, you chop off the ends, you slice them down the middle into halves, you throw them in a bowl, you put a little EVOO in there, a little extra virgin olive oil, a little salt, a little pepper, a little garlic salt, and you can chop up and sort of crush some garlic if you have it, or you can buy that tube. They sell it in the produce section of sort of pasty garlic. That works well too. You put some of that in there. And then you put some Parmesan cheese. You sprinkle that all around. You toss that all together in the bowl. And you throw it in a pan and you cook it around 375, 400 for about, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Keeping an eye on it. And it'll be nice and crusty, and it'll be nice and yummy with the Parmesan cheese and salty with the garlic salt, and it's going to be great. And if you want to get really aggressive, you could throw in chop up some bacon, put a little prosciutto in there, and, that'll take it to the next level. Go ahead, you deserve it. It's Thanksgiving. It's time for indulgences. That's it. Thanks for watching CB on the Seas. Hit that subscribe button. Tell all your friends. Next show will be after the 18th game of the season, which is Wednesday night at home versus the Canucks. Hey, man, every game is going to be a battle from here on out until we get some rhythm. So that game's what time? 7:30 at the old TD Garden. So until then, bonsoir, mes amis.